Now, in my 5 years of running the channel, I have never reviewed the Streamlight MicroStream USB. Now, this flashlight has an average rating of 4.7 out of 5 stars with over 30,000 ratings on Amazon. So it must be really good, right? Must be incredible, the best flashlight ever. Well, I'm sorry to disappoint. I don't think you're going to be happy with me, but let me explain myself. Let me tell you why I think this might be the most overhyped flashlight currently on the market. Now, I want to start this review by being really fair to Streamlight and this particular flashlight. It has been around for a while, and we are in 2024. So part of this is that it's kind of reached its time. It's reached its time to kind of move on, for them to upgrade it and maybe make improvements that would make it competitive or even better than anything else we're going to show in this video. That's something I definitely want to say before we start. I also want to say I really like that it included a neck lanyard with a quick tear option versus a standard just wrist lanyard. That makes so much more sense. I wish more brands would do exactly that. It also comes with a micro USB cable to charge the flashlight, which I think is a very good place to start. When you read the fine print, and in fact there was some kind of confusion in my comment section when we talked about this flashlight, it doesn't specify anywhere that this is a micro USB flashlight. You kind of have to dig a little bit more into research, and it makes sense why you don't want to state that it's basically a type that almost no one uses anymore. But this is a big issue, I think, in 2024. I mean, this is basically the equivalent of a proprietary charger in today's world. I don't have any devices in my collection that use this type, and I have pretty much gotten rid of them many years ago. So it's the fact that this is kind of outdated is part of the problem. Now, the other thing that happens when you have this sort of sleeve is you have, well, a lot of options for water to come in and kill your flashlight. And being an IPX rating of 4 means this is basically going to take a little bit of rain, and that's about it. Now, I'm sure people are going to come in the comments and be like, well, I dropped it in a puddle and it lasted for like 10 minutes, and that's fine, but other flashlights have better waterproofing. That is the truth, okay? So I am really against flashlights that don't have proper waterproof ratings, because it is a primary tool that in an emergency, if they don't work, they are useless. They are literally paperweights or less. You know, can even be a detriment because you might rely on something that is not going to work in a pinch, and that is unacceptable. So the first thing they're going to have to do is to improve the waterproof rating to at least an IP6 rating, or preferably an IPX7 rating, which would mean it was waterproof to 1 meter for 30 minutes, which would be a great thing, and is possible even with an exposed port. In fact, newer Type-C ports, you can actually get waterproof varieties that actually are exposed and still are waterproof. And I think the small version of their wedge may actually have that, which is pretty cool. Now, the clip on this is a bit flimsier than other flashlights, which we'll talk about, but once again, I think it suffers from comparison over a longer duration. I think when this first came out, it was probably one of the few flashlights that had a reversible clip, and it probably could use an update. And then we're going to finish this off with the button. Now, a single click will bring you in on the 250 lumen high mode, and then a second click will bring you on the low. Now, this is 50 lumens, and that's an okay distribution. I don't have any problem with that. I don't have a problem with the runtime. I don't even have a problem with how it drops off right away with the high mode. That's okay. I actually don't have too many problems with the overall output of it. I will tell you though, this is one of the most difficult buttons I've ever had to utilize. In fact, I thought I was being crazy, but then I handed it to 4 other individuals in my family. 3 of them had to use 2 hands in order to get it to lock in. One of them couldn't do it at all. Or sorry, 2 of them had to use 2 hands. One of them couldn't do it at all. And the other one, who is very strong, was just surprised overall that it was so difficult to press. Could do it, no problem, but definitely was surprised by how much force it took. Now, I have seen in my comments that the solution to this problem is to unscrew the cap here and then put a piece of paper or something like that underneath so that it's a little bit easier to press. And look, if you want to make that modification, sure. But out of the box, you might not know that, and so that is something that you will encounter. Now, to continue going, we actually have in here a replaceable battery, which is great, but it is a proprietary one to Streamlight. Now, this is essentially what I can, as far as I can tell, a 10440 that has been modified with a low voltage protection circuit somewhere in the front, which makes it a little bit longer, and that will protect the battery from being burned out at a certain voltage. It will just shut off, right? That's something that has to happen. Now, most modern flashlights don't need this because it's built into a circuit inside the flashlight. It can then determine whether you're using a standard AAA or a 10440. This flashlight does not have that type of circuit in the actual flashlight itself. So you have to buy these batteries directly from Streamlight, and that's the only place you can get them. So there's all of these things. Now, that's the basics of the flashlight. But how does it stack up against the competition? Now I'm going to compare this flashlight to a number of different models from different brands, but this one felt the most obvious in 2024, and that is the brand new version of the i3T from Olight. Now, this is sort of a great example of how things have finally reached a point where it has been completely outclassed. This flashlight in almost every capacity beats out the Streamlight, and let me explain why. So first of all, the pocket clip is quite a bit more robust and more secure because it's within the threading. Now this is a recent change from the original i3T, so that's of note. I'll bring the other one in just a minute. This has an IPX8 waterproofing, which is the best internal certification you can declare as a company versus IPX4, and I will tell you, this absolutely handles water with no issues whatsoever. And I am not the only one to say it. Feel free to go verify independently. No problems with water. Now, this uses a standard AAA. Now, let me turn on the 250 lumen mode real quick, and let me show you what that looks like compared to the 200 lumen mode of the Olight. There actually is not that much difference between the two. It's surprisingly close, even to my eyes, when I compare them. I would say, just on the numbers, this is about 30% higher in candela rating than this one. And that's about the same with lumen count. So they're kind of similar in proportion. But where this flashlight kind of takes the cake and why it's basically killing the Streamlight here is that the newest version is formally able to use a 10440, which is a 3.7 volt battery, and it has low voltage protection built in that will allow you to reach 300 lumens or a 50% increase in output and far surpass the output of the Streamlight. And it's definitely, you can tell, it is definitely going to be a brighter light at that point. And the thing is, this is a $20 flashlight, and during sales is usually like $16 or so, whereas this is a $30 to $35 flashlight depending on where you buy it. I think the cheapest place is actually on Amazon. So that's already not a great comparison. And I don't think that's just one example, and I don't want to be accused of just, loving Olight. So let me give you some other examples. Let's go to the other route. Let's say you determine that the rechargeability is really important, that you don't care that it can't use as a AAA, but you really want it to be able to recharge. Well, you could go smaller and get more. In this case, I'm talking about the Aurora series from Rovivon. This is the A3 Pro, and this was about $30, which is very comparable in price. It has a Type-C charging port versus the micro USB, and output-wise, let me just show you, that's 250, and that is 650. So substantially higher output with the Rovivon than you can get with the Streamlight. It has a built-in lithium polymer battery, and has a really cool clip with a magnetic attachment as well if you want to use that. You also even have access to strobe, just so strobe warning. And yeah, you can do that as well. So a lot of options from this flashlight with a waterproof rating of IP66, which is not perfect, but is still way better than IPX4. So that's number 2. What about other flashlights that are also available? Here's another one from Manker. This is the E02. Now this can use a standard AAA, or it can use a 10440 and reach over 400 lumens. Now I think right now it has a standard AAA in it, and you can see it's still, I'll try to put it the same, it's a little bit less bright. I think it works out to be 150 lumens max with a AAA, but the differences are actually not that big, and it still has the IPX8 waterproof rating. Let's see, what else? We have a keychain flashlight, another keychain flashlight from Olight, and the reason I bring this one up is because of just how durable it is. Low mode of 5, high mode of 180 lumens, and also quite comparable to the Streamlight. Just not quite as bright, but still more than good enough. You're not going to really determine the difference, and this thing is very tough and basically invisible on your keychain. And if you want to say, okay, you're not being fair, you don't like Streamlight. I actually do like Streamlight. And in fact, I think Streamlight makes the single best flashlight in the world, possibly, because the ProTac 1L 1AA is such a versatile, incredible package for anyone, and is an incredible emergency light with an IPX7 waterproof rating, a great pocket clip, which I really like the orientation of, and a incredible output. So 350 lumens with a CR123 battery and over, I think, 3,800 candela, so really, really, really bright, long reach flashlight. I absolutely love this light, and it's the easiest one to recommend under a $40 price. It really, really is, because it can use a AA as well, and it can even use a AAA if you put something to kind of hold it in place. That's pretty much it, like the ultimate in battery versatility. And it is possible that they can make this light in a way that it will actually keep water out. I mean, here's another modern example. Now, this is a larger flashlight, so you can see this is a AA sized flashlight. This is the Fenix LD12R, one of my favorites that have come out from this company. And it actually has a Type-C port underneath the collar, but notice that the entire head moves up. So it's easier for them to waterproof this thing. And this has an IP68 waterproof rating, which means it's an independent certification of dust proofing, 6 out of 6, and waterproofing, 8 out of 8. So this is rated very, very highly, and Fenix is really well known for this. So I think it's time to kind of upgrade. Now, this flashlight is very advanced, and Fenix is known for being a little expensive and still only about $60 to $70, or double this price, but can use a 14500, right, which is very, very bright, and it can use a standard AA. And it has the Type-C recharging. And here's the cool part. So check this out. I can do that and then twist it, and now I have a side light. So if I want to attach it and use it hands-free in some cool way, I can. I even have a magnetic clip. Like, I think what just happened here is that we just got outdated. This flashlight just got outdated, okay? I'm not saying that the people who did the rating were wrong when they made it. I think that this at one point was one of the best flashlights that you could buy. I just believe, based on what we have available, there are better options. It's just that simple. And I forgot one entirely, and I want to go back to another AAA, the Raylight Mini Pineapple in aluminum. Now, this is another recent introduction, I think, starting in 2023. And this thing has a max output of 240 lumens, or almost the same amount as the Streamlight, and has a high CRI above 93, I believe. Maybe it's above 95, with a programmable user interface. Now, although it does not have a reversible pocket clip, I just recently figured out how to put the one from the i3T onto it, and it does function as well. IPX8 waterproof. So better waterproofing, more battery versatility, can use the AAA or 10440, I mean, that's pretty awesome. And then we're going to finish up with the original i3T. It could use the 10440, and what happens is, let me show you. If you use the 10440 in the original i3T, and you can still buy these, you get an output of nearly 600 lumens. I think this was rated to be about 550. It's not going to have that low voltage protection, so you have to be careful running down the battery. But this thing becomes insane in comparison to the Streamlight. Overall, I just don't see a reason. I mean, the fact that you can take this flashlight and you can program it where it either comes in on the high mode or the low mode kind of takes away the benefits of this tan version. And then you have the high CRI equivalent over here. You have the potentially high CRI if you want to, or high output version of this keychain flashlight with Type-C charging. And then if you are willing to carry something in your pocket a little bit bigger, there's just a ton of options. I just don't see a reason to go for this light right now. Look, maybe I'm overstating it. Maybe it's better than I think. You let me know down in the comments. But as far as I can tell, I see no reason to recommend the Streamlight MicroStream USB in 2024 until they make an upgrade. And if they do, I will absolutely buy it and review it. I'm looking forward to seeing what they have to come up with. But as of right now, I can't see any situation where I would choose it over, at the very least, the i3T2 or the Rovivon. That's kind of where I sit. Let me know. Feel free to disagree. I know this is a flashlight that's very popular and very loved, but I think in 2024, its time is over. As always, guys, thank you for your time, and we'll talk again soon.